I'm your host, Wendy, and I ask you to come with me as we wonder into the basics of what alcoholism and sobriety are, and how these two sides of the same coin tend to affect each and every one of us in society. I think it's good for us to share what alcoholism is not and what it does not necessarily look like. And hopefully, this will help us debunk these stereotypes and help us realize that it can take so many different faces. The first and most probably the most pervasive one is that alcoholism affects only those who are visibly struggling: the homeless, the unemployed, the hopeless, the depressed, those who are fighting mental health issues. The stereotypical drunk. But the reality is, alcohol knows no boundaries. Alcohol affects people of all ages, socioeconomic class, race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation. It affects professionals like doctors, lawyers, teachers, entrepreneurs, students. It affects the young, the middle-aged, adults, elderly, whether you're rich or poor, and everyone in between. Alcohol doesn't care what you look like, or who you know, or what you have achieved in this life, or who you are connected to. And my version of rock bottom was not being able to go to work because I was suffering from the consequences of drinking too much, right? Because as I sat there, I asked myself, so Wendy, if you get fired, if you lose your job, how are you going to maintain this habit of drinking, right? And I've said I am a recovering functional alcoholic. And as I sat there, I realized I needed to take control of my life. And I said a prayer. I said, God, I can't do this anymore. I simply cannot. I cannot continue this way. There has to be more to life. As I looked in the mirror and that person looked back at me, I didn't want to be that person anymore. And so I gave myself a challenge and I said, you know what? You are going to spend the next 365 days with no alcohol. And then on day 366, you're going to have a glass of champagne and toast yourself. And you're going to have proven to yourself that you don't need alcohol, that alcohol has no control over you. And that's how my sobriety journey, I'm not going to say started, because as simple as that sounds, it sounds like I simply sat on my bathroom floor and made a declaration. But there was a lot of work that went in behind the scenes. For me to get to that moment on my bathroom floor took almost 24 months of friends pushing me, of therapy, of a lot of deep self-reflection. Question why you need so much more to drink to be able to get to the point where you feel like you are getting the fun or the pleasure out of it. It's a very important thing to be able to do that. And unfortunately, it's hard for us to self-check. And so maybe that's where your friends and loved ones come in. When you need to drink more and more to get the same effects over and over again, then you might want to ask yourself, am I on the right path? Am I drinking more than I should? And ask yourself why. It's not really a matter sometimes of just stopping. It's asking yourself, why do I need so much? Why do I push so hard? Or why do I keep needing to do more to get to the same place? We've already established that, a lot of people drink before they're 18, before they're adults. In the US, it's 21, but we all know a lot of people drink before that age. But assuming that we all don't drink until we are of legal age, the first rather wide subtype is the young adult subtype. This includes people who start drinking at the age of 18, 19, or early adulthood. They are influenced by peer pressure because everyone around them is drinking, social norms because that's what you do on a weekend, or they desire to experiment. They've seen other people drinking and they want to see what it's like. They may not, because they're young. When we're young, we think we're invisible, right? And so when we're young, you don't initially experience social or financial consequences, right? Because most of the time somebody else is buying the booze, or your social circle is comprised of people who drink with you. And so there is no initial stigma. In fact, at that age, everybody is welcome you to drink. It is a rite of passage. Like when you get to 18, you're supposed to be drinking, right? Like your uncles, your cousins are actually the ones who are going to take you out for like your first drink. For a lot of us, it's a combination of factors and not just one that makes us more predisposed to alcoholism or more likely to get addicted than other people. There are people, let's be honest, who can spend their entire lives having one beer or one glass of wine, even every day, and never have any issues with alcoholism. But unfortunately, data says that that's a very small percentage of the global population. For a lot of people, alcoholism continues to be a problem globally, not just in Africa, but all over the world. Quitting alcohol abruptly can lead to severe withdrawal symptoms. My first 3 months of sobriety was some of the hardest I had to go through. I already have anxiety, just naturally, but imagine it amplified about 1,000 times over. Insomnia became my constant companion, and when I did sleep, the night terrors woke me up several times in the night, covered in sweat and shaking violently. The voices in my head, I think we all have those, right? They got louder, and I doubted everything I did, even more than I did before. The daily headaches didn't help matters, and there were nights when I wanted alcohol so badly I could taste it. I did, and I still sometimes dream of myself drinking, and I wake up wondering if I've broken my sobriety. That's how deep addiction can hold you to. I am almost 5 years into my sobriety, and there's days I dream of alcohol, and I wake up thinking, did I do something? Did I go somewhere? Did I drink? Symptoms vary from person to person, from mild anxiety, shakiness, to severe complications like seizures and hallucinations, which can be life threatening. This is just like the top layer of why you should not quit cold turkey. The why of your journey has to be deeply personal to you, and that is why it is vital that the person choose sobriety for themselves. I say this because over and over, I see family members and people with loved ones who get so frustrated and they give ultimatums to alcoholics and addicts. And it's all from a good place. But until the alcoholic decides for themselves that they want to get sober and know the reason why they want to get sober, it is going to be an uphill battle. You can send them to rehab as many times as you want. You can pay for their rehab as many times as you want. But until they get to that realization by themselves and make that final decision, it is an effort in futility. You can give them ultimatums and tell them how you're going to disinherit them or divorce them in the case of a spouse or limit the access to the children and all of that. But when those things fail or when life happens and they do not have a reason for themselves why they chose to be sober, the lure of alcohol is going to draw them right back in. Did you know that as soon as you quit drinking alcohol, your body almost instantly begins to heal itself? The liver, the one that's usually most affected because it has to filter through your alcohol, begins to repair itself, leading to improved liver function. Now, for those of us who are sleeping during biology, your sister included here, the liver is responsible for a lot of other things, including cleaning toxins out of your blood, metabolizing proteins, carbohydrates, and fats so that your body can be able to use them. It also produces substances that helps the blood clot, among other things. So your liver is pretty important. So you do want it to be functioning well. Dealing with a loved one who is battling alcoholism is incredibly draining, challenging, and emotional. It's natural to want to help your loved one, but it is important that you approach the situation with care, empathy, and understanding. Your role in supporting them is vital. I already shared with you in a previous episode how it was my friends who pushed me in gentle and tactful ways to examine my relationship with alcohol. But at the end of the day, I had to make that final decision for myself. And the situation is the same with your loved ones. They have to be the ones to make that decision. You cannot make it for them.